Nerd Skool is a member of the Queen City Podcast Network, powered by Ortho Carolina. Now offering video visits so you can take control of your orthopedic care from the comfort of your home. Schedule online at orthocarolina.com. Ortho Carolina, you improve.
Hey, fellows. It's the first snap of another season.
Nerds roll. Nerds roll. Oh, my glasses are broken.
Surprise me.
My pocket is protected.
Surprise me.
I'm a super nerd.
Surprise me.
Love Batman.
Okay.
Excelsior!
I am a super nerd.
The Nerd Skool Podcast.
Starring Andy.
I am a former entertainment journalist.
The Star Spangled Band with a plan.
TBJ.
Welcome. Congratulations. You did dirt. Ta-da. I got no shame. I am what I like to call a surprise nerd.
Art Star.
I am not an incel.
Dark Star.
He's the nerd Gotham City deserves.
And yours truly, call me Joe.
Joe Bird.
Do we want to jump into Captain America, or do we just want to,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's make some progress.
Here's where I think we were. I don't know if you guys remember better, but I think I had just asked Andy, I had just asked you about Abe Erskine.
Yeah.
Erskine, if he was a real character. Because we got to,
he is.
we got to
explain that.
You did that, and we got to the point where it was just the first time he talks to Erskine when he sees him at that fair thing.
Right.
And I think, and that's when I said, "Is this a guy from comics?" And you explained that. And I think my next note bit, I don't know if you have anything after that, but my next note bit was when Dr. Zola shows up, and I was gonna say his first appearance was clever how they did it, like. If you remember,
with that,
through that scope, they had his face through that scope, and because right away I looked up, I know the name Arnim Zola from your radio show or something in college. You had like somebody called Zola.
Yeah. One of my friends decided to name himself Captain Arnim Zola Squat. And that was his radio name. It was ridiculous, but
I didn't know. I didn't know if you explained that. But
one of the most batshit characters there could be, and he is a guy. He's a Nazi scientist. He was created in like 1977. This is all Jack Kirby. He wrote and drew this,
and this is in the comics here because I think you're going to answer my next 4 questions about this guy. So go for it.
In the comics, Arnim Zola is like a Nazi super scientist who survived by downloading himself into a weird robot body. But it's into the chest, so it's like a weird robot who wears like a weird orange tunic, but he has a giant television screen in his chest. That's his face, and that's how he talks. And then his head is like this camera, so he can see everything. And it's the weirdest looking dude. He's just this weird creep. And
he made that in the 70s, in 1977.
Yeah. Like in Captain America comics, like number 308 or something, he created this nut job.
So when you're saying camera, back then his head was like a picture camera, like a poof, camera.
Probably no. I think it was like a video camera. They had video cameras in the 70s.
Large, yeah.
Oh, like a large video camera, like a news camera type of thing.
Well, it's not. Probably.
Okay.
I don't think it looked exactly like a news camera. It looked sci-fi and high tech because it's comic books.
Yeah.
But he's a robot body that walks around with a TV in his face, or a TV of his face in his chest, and a camera head, and he fights Captain America because he's also a Nazi. And so when he first showed up, I love batshit characters like that. He's just.
You're saying you love Nazis?
Ape shit with the character design. I love that kind of weird shit.
And you love Nazis.
Oh boy.
Do not put that on Andy. He's do not start a rumor.
But when we see him first in this movie, and the first time you see his face, he's through that little mirror scope thing. I figured that was as close to the comic book batshittery that we were going to get.
Yeah.
But when we get to Winter Soldier, it blew my mind.
Spoiler
how close
alert,
to
because
full
I
Zola
don't
they went.
remember what happens in that. So we'll
Yeah,
not
we won't talk about it.
We'll
But I
watch.
remember that was a big talking point after it came out. Oh my god, they went like 75% Zola. Like, they didn't go full Zola, but they went as close to Zola as I couldn't even believe it. I thought this first shot of him was the most we were going to get, and I would be fine with that.
So I put that together just when I heard his name and then I Googled it, and like right as I Googled it, they did that shot where it's through that lens thing for a second, and I was like, oh, what a clever way to, give homage to the comic, and I kind of I guess I thought the same thing. They're not going to actually make him that robot thing, but that was going to be my next question. Is like, he's clearly from the comics. Was he a Nazi in the comics? Is this all made up just for this movie, or is the Nazism stuff all this? Like Red Skull and everybody, like it was fighting Nazis, and then you kind of answered that in the first one that Captain America started as propaganda.
Yeah.
So
I mean, you can see, we haven't gotten to that point yet, but like you see the cover of Captain America Comics #1, the real one, is in this movie a bit later when they're doing the montage of.
Yeah, you did
Captain
mention
America
that.
going around.
You did mention that last episode, so you don't have to rehash that at all. But yeah, so I think that's a cool, like that moment was cool that I was excited that I picked up on it, I guess is what I'm saying. Like I was like, oh, I know, and I think I only, Google helped me with that. But and then I have a note in here that the Tesseract is in his machine, Arnim Zola's machine, and I wrote all the way up. So I guess didn't they turn it? He turns into a certain thing.
They were doing the
and he
experiments on it.
He says it's dangerous, but then Red Skull turns it all the way up.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
and there's that
like,
song.
it's stabilizing at 70%. And he's like, I did not come all this way for safety, doctor. And then he cranks it up and burns everything out.
That's a pretty good
I literally just finally sat down and watched it again a couple hours ago.
Oh, you rewatched it again to catch up. Oh, good. That's good.
Yeah. I mean, I hadn't gotten a chance to sit down and watch it before we started, so finally it's in my head now.
Oh, here's what my next question was, because I have my notes are change the war, change the world. He says if we change the war, we change the world. Do those two, yes, they're both Nazis in the comics, but do they work together in the comics a lot too, Red Skull and Zola, or not? Or is that like...
I don't know. Red Skull was around since the 40s, but Arnim Zola was created in the 70s.
Oh, okay.
I'm sure they're in the same social circles, I imagine.
Well, if they're both Nazis, right? They're both Nazis?
The same evil hater circle.
Right. And, or they started as Nazis, or if they... I mean, they've had a couple Nazi characters that have kind of tried to reform, I guess, or at least they kind of try to separate the Nazi ideology from their bad guys, so you don't have to... because sometimes, like, the best villains are the ones you kind of empathize with, like Magneto, he's almost right. Yeah. Or, guys who understand why they're doing what they do. They're just doing it. They're doing bad things for reasons they think are noble.
Kylo Ren, there you go.
Kylo Ren is a space Nazi. You can't get in with Kylo Ren. He's running a team of space Nazis.
He is not doing anything of the goodness. He doesn't think he's right. He is aiming for evil. Therefore, it's a no.
Last Skywalker, but go on.
I am not, and he is not redeemed. Sorry.
I kind of would like to, but
I'm going to take you back to when I'm going to take you back to the bridge when he's like Ben, and then he destroys his father. That's not redeemable. Okay. It's your dad. It's your dad you manipulated.
Tiffany can't get over that.
Yeah.
Art, do you like the sequel? It's called the sequels, the 7, 8, and 9, 7, 8, 9 of Star Wars. So I know it's off topic.
I'm about to say, Joe, that is a random turn.
It's one of those things where it's like I'll watch them because they're Star Wars movies. It took me forever to watch Solo and Rogue One. Because I
watched Rogue One. I like
I thought those were both good.
But I mean, once I watched them, I'm like, okay, they was good. But I was still kind of like, do I really need to see this? Like, do I really need to see this?
You haven't seen Solo, Andy?
I haven't. I know.
Donald fucking Glover
is Lando.
Donald Glover is a
That's
genius.
enough reason right there.
Donald Glover
is a
I'm going to
genius.
say this. I'm going to say this, and Tiffany, you might slap my face, but Donald Glover is better than Don Cheadle.
Okay, listen, Joe. I will give Donald Glover all his shine because he creates in multiple categories in entertainment. Okay, so I will give him.
This is America.
But
Troy?
This is America.
It's apples and oranges. Okay, it's apples and oranges.
Troy
We're going
and
between
Abed.
Don Cheadle
Troy and Abed in the morning.
and Glover. Apples and oranges. They're both geniuses in their own realm.
Have you seen Atlanta?
Yes. Number one, my name is Tiffany. I am from Georgia.
Whoa! I didn't
also
know
pay
you were from
attention.
Georgia.
I am.
See, we learn. We're learning each other.
Peach.
I am a peach.
What part of
I am
Georgia
a
are you
GA
from?
Peach. It is not on any map you have ever heard of. It is called Glenwood.
It's called what?
It's a one stoplight town. It's Glenwood.
Glenwood. Okay.
We've got a stoplight, and it's just no reason for it. We just have one.
TBJ, have you ever heard of the Big Boss Man from Cobb County, Georgia?
I know where Cobb County is, but no. Is that a wrestler?
yeah.
Yeah.
I just heard
no, I'm
of
a
the
GA
Big
girl.
Boss Man.
And Jake the Snake Roberts is from Snake Mountain, Georgia.
Yeah, I am. About.
Not Snake Mountain. Snake Mountain's from He-Man. He's from
Stone Mountain.
Stone Mountain, Georgia. That's right.
I am about 2
Snake
hours
Mountain.
in from Augusta, or you can go to Augusta or Savannah from where I'm from in 2
Augusta,
hours,
yeah.
or you can drive 30 minutes to Vidalia, where the sweet onions are from, and that's our biggest city.
Andy saw Weird Al in Augusta, right, Andy?
Yes, I did.
And Snake Mountain
You
is
have to think about that.
Snake Mountain is the home of Skeletor and Merman.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
an evil
I
Lynn.
mean,
Merman lives in the
wrestlers.
So I've been watching
I see where you're going.
Art will like this because he used to draw He-Man. I'm finding that listening to old He-Man cartoons while I'm trying to get to sleep like helps me get to sleep for some reason. Like I don't know. Yeah, it's like that. But I cracked up the other night because I was like, "Oh no, there's Evil Lynn," and I was like, "Could you get a more clever name? They already are gonna know you're evil because evil's in your name." Like.
Here's the thing.
Her
I was thinking
Evelyn
about,
is an actual name. Evelyn is
Evelyn,
kind of a name,
Evelyn,
so
yeah.
it's trying to be a pun on that.
Oh, okay.
But I
a lot of
don't
these-
think she's trying to hide that she's evil.
A lot of these names are like just right on the nose. Like I was watching Superman and Lois. It was like Superman, Captain America. Like that's
Yeah.
so like nothing's. It's weird because like now you have like the newest superheroes that are coming out. They give them these kind of somewhat complex names sometimes. But the ones back in the day was like, hey, you know what? You have the powers of a spider. You're Spider-Man. Hey, you have the powers of an ant. You're Ant-Man.
Keeping it simple. When in doubt, go simple.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, you got to sell it, too. You got to be thinking about what's going to sell. All right, back to Captain America. Speaking of selling, we got to sell that Steve Rogers is got to be sold as Captain America. I don't know if that works. But we show Steve in training when he's still a little guy, and they're trying to figure out who they're going to give the super serum to. And he's like running with everybody, and he doesn't give up. And they have that little bit about like the flagpole, like, hey, whoever gets that flag is the best. And he like pulls out the pins and knocks it down and all that. And Agent Carter's kind of where there's kind of that chemistry starting.
She's already swooning.
Yeah, over this
impressed by his problem-solving skills.
This little baby
Yes,
guy.
there you go, Andy. Impressed by his problem-solving skills.
Yeah. And then
this is Tommy Lee Jones shows up, and I love watching Tommy Lee Jones be curmudgeonly. Like I was saying before, like there's I don't know why this line sticks with me so much, but he's complaining that Erskine wants to pick Steve Rogers, and he's you brought a 90-pound asthmatic onto my army base. I'd let it slide. I thought maybe it'd be useful to you, like a gerbil. Like that kind of shit, that kind of dialogue all the time is what makes this makes me happy to watch this movie every time I watch it. But then, like, it's like, look at that. He's making me cry. That's the line that's in my head all the time whenever I think about this movie.
Yeah. Tommy Lee Jones. I'll go to say, like, I think he kind of steals this show in this movie a little bit. Like, he kind of steals the show.
He's a standout, 100% standout.
Yeah, and that's good because he's got a thing. Like, I feel like when he was Two-Face and Batman, I think he kind of was. No, not the same.
I mean, I haven't watched that since it was in the theaters.
I just recently watched it.
I came out of that going, all right, it wasn't as bad as I thought, but it's the more I learned about Two-Face, the less I thought of Tommy Lee Jones' performance as Two-Face. Not that he couldn't do a good Two-Face if the Two-Face was written as not like the Joker with a different gimmick.
Well, I think
forever he was basically the Joker with a coin flip gimmick that didn't make any sense, and the whole thing where he keeps flipping the coin until he gets the right answer is like the opposite of what Two-Face is supposed to be. He's supposed to. The whole point of the gimmick is that he abides by the
well, and isn't the whole thing in that Batman is that they introduced Lando Calrissian as Harvey Dent, and that's supposed to be Two-Face, and then the next episode it's a white guy. Like, isn't that like the shitty thing? Like they screwed over.
It's a new director,
Lando, Billy D. Williams.
Tim Burton left after the second movie.
Oh, and then, that's right.
Joel Schumacher came in for that movie.
Sorry, we'll get into that when we get into Batman and everything.
That's like comics, though. Like a comic creative team will do this one thing, and then like the creative team leaves. The creative team usually being the writer, artist, and I guess penciler.
But they try to be better with that now, right? Now, where they try to kind of like, even if they do kind of change the direction, they kind of try to keep some of the continuity. Or either or destroy it and create a whole new, Heroes Reborn kind of thing. But
or Avengers Disassembled, which was just like, hey, I'm reading this book. Oh, this new guy comes in. Let's shit on everything and
Have you ever come back? Have you guys ever gotten an insight, like maybe from going to Comic Cons or whatever, or Andy, when you were in the journalism thing in comics? Did you ever get a sneak peek of what the back scenes of comic books are? Like, is it truly just the writer and the guy who draws it? But you just mentioned like a penciler and a color.
Look at
is there like a supervisor? Yeah, so is there like a supervisor
that's chief, the guy who runs Marvel? Then there's each editor. There's editors under him that have like, all right, I'm handling these books. We'll handle these. We'll handle these. And those are the editors. And then you've got writers on certain books. And I think there's pencilers, the guys who actually write the letters on the thing. Or no, the pencilers are the artists. The letterers. I know a guy. I have a friend out in California who was like, I think he was a letterer.
Friend with benefits.
His job. Yes. And he like would write all the dialogue and you have to fit the dialogue properly into the word balloons so they don't cover up too much of the action, so you have to arrange that stuff.
That is difficult.
The artist doesn't handle that part. He draws the pictures. He knows he or she, because there's some amazing female artists.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Tiffany's got her glasses off.
Pronouns here.
I appreciate that, Andy, because a lot of people don't work on them.
Yeah.
Yep, I'm trying to do that. But it's I've seen like how like the nuts and bolts sometimes is.
So is it the just
pencil, then there's the colorers, the inkers.
All right, paint the picture for me though. Like how does it go from start to finish? Like say, like the guy, like I'm the guy who tells you the story, which is like a Stan Lee, I guess, right?
Okay.
I'm the guy who tells you the story. So do we sit down in a conference room and I'm like, first, Captain America is gonna punch a Nazi in the face, and I wanted that drawing, and then they take notes, or is it just like beats and then they draw it up and show it to him, or do you have any?
Well, every creative person works a little differently. I mean, I think there's a Marvel method that I have to look into that they what they kind of baseline do.
That's your homework for next episode.
Like what Stan Lee and Jack Kirby did was a little different than how things work now. I mean, Stan Lee kind of went, there's a spider on the wall over there. What if a guy had spider powers? And I called him Spider-Man. And his real name is Peter Parker. like he'll do like the bare bones of a character,
Yeah.
and then he'll like, how about this? Draw me something like this, and Kirby will come up with or in the case of Spider-Man, it was Steve Ditko was the artist. Although Kirby did a swing at Spider-Man, but I think they went with the Ditko.
Was
drawing.
Kirby? Did he draw? Was he an art? Like
Yeah.
an
Oh,
illustrator?
yes, he drew.
But he didn't. But
Jack
he's
Kirby,
not. But he's not a storyteller. Like he draws.
He's not exclusive. I mean, he's written and he's been a
Oh,
writer
okay.
artist. Like I said, Arnim Zola, he was writing Captain America and drawing Captain America at the same time.
Okay. I'm sorry. to get
Sometimes
off.
like you got guys that can do the double duties. They're double threats. But like Stan Lee would come up with like sort of a bare bones sketch, and then they'd come back. Kirby would come back. All right, here's what I got out of what you gave me, and like here. All right, that's a cool look. We'll go with that look. Here's like we'll do the bare bones of a story, and then Kirby will. A lot of times, the artist is telling as much of the story as the writer, especially with Stan Lee's case because he was very. I don't think he was very. What's the word?
He's very big picture.
He wasn't very specific.
Yeah, he's very big picture. Like so, Kirby would create the pages that create the flow of the story, based on the rough outline that Stan Lee would give him, and then Stan Lee would go back in there and fill in the actual dialogue. So like the story is formed a lot by the artist as well.
Okay.
Because he's the one drawing the panel, and she's the one doing the stuff.
I guess I was had in my head like the artist is really just like, you tell me exactly what to draw, I'll draw it. But they get to
some people work that way. Other writers are like, I want to know what my artist likes to draw, and I will gear my stories towards what he's good at and what he enjoys doing.
So
it's all about making like you pretty much make a connection.
Yeah.
It's like like it's just like in movies and in television. You have someone who will sit there like, okay, this person does well with this. Let me get him, and then we'll sit down. We'll make a plan. We'll come up with this, and then from there, just like bouncing off of each other. So then you also have like someone who may like, okay, well, we want this colorist to do the color for this book. We want the inker to do because everyone plays a part.
Yeah,
but then you like having a team. You have a team.
You're trying to make this harmonious book where like I mean, there are certain books where it's like even if you don't know who the writer is, you don't know who the artist is, when you look at the picture on the page, like you may think it's just the artist who drew that, but like all of the details in those books is like a concentrated effort from a group of people. So it's always it's just about getting that right connection.
So if I'm working with art,
the penciler creates the sketches. Or the formats, basically does the panel stuff, and then the inker will come over and darken all the outlines to sort of take away the sketches and put them in the shadow and all this stuff, and then the colorist comes in. A lot of this is done digitally now, but the colorist will come in and actually put the colors over the pencils and inks.
So if I'm working with art and I'm the story guy, and I know that art really loves drawing wieners. I'll just do a story about Wiener Man or Wiener Guy.
Yeah.
It would be collaborative. So, short answer to Joe's question, because we've taken a long time on this, is some people do all the things. Some people have a creative team.
And even if and then you see this Marvel and DC and Image, they probably have a bigger creative team. But you also have people out there doing indie books where it might be just either the artist themselves writing, doing everything, and creating a book, or they maybe just two people creating this book or whatever.
Yeah.
But it just depends on what comic house you work at.
Yeah, well, it's kind of neat just to think about the behind the scenes kind of on this stuff because I would have you just think you don't think of that really. Okay, so back to Tommy Lee Jones and Capture the Flag, and we have the grenade test where they throw it out and Steve jumps on the little guy.
Character. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he jumps on it. We figure out that
skinny.
He is a hero. That's why, and that's when Erskine convinces Tommy Lee Jones is like, yeah, because he had another guy. He had the other guy in mind, right?
Yeah, who was a big bully dick. Who's the guy who mouthed off to Peggy Carter, who Peggy Carter decked in the goddamn face like he fucking deserved.
What's the guy's name? You know his name?
Oh, I just heard it.
Oh, you said Bully Dick. I thought you were saying that was his name, Bully Dick.
No, he was a bully and a dick.
Yes. Those are his characteristics.
So
but
that
he
guy,
was right.
that guy hides.
That
guy hides
said his name,
behind.
I just heard it now.
I don't care what his name is, but he hides unless he's somebody in comics. But he hides,
No.
and that's when Tommy Lee Jones kind of looks at Erskine and is like, "Fuck, you got me."
He's still skinny.
What does he say?
He said he's still skinny.
He's still skinny. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
but I think that was as close as he was going to get to saying, "Okay, I get it."
Yeah, right. He's still
Right.
skinny. And then we have the Erskine, and I gotta say, throughout this whole thing, it's believable that Steve Rogers, the CGI is so good. That looks real. That he's that little. Like that's what's amazing about this movie. I think it's like
movie magic.
And movie magic. And in this point in time, what is this? 2011 or 20?
Can I say this? Okay, so now
You can say it.
Now, you gotta listen. So, well, one of my beefs with Thor was like this was not too far from Thor.
Yeah.
Whereas like the effects in this movie were a little more spot on than they were in Thor. And sure, they maybe like, they had some time to learn. But it's still like for me personally, it was one of those things where it's like, if you would have told me that this movie was came out the same year and was released the same year as Thor, I wouldn't have believed you.
I mean, Thor had a lot more to do with effects, though. I mean, this was like this making Chris Evans look tiny was the main. Of everything else can be done mostly practical, other than stunt work and stuff like that.
What was
Thor
wrong
had to
with
create
Thor?
a whole magical Asgard.
He's still mad about that damn bridge. That's what he's mad about.
Oh, you didn't like the bridge?
Listen, you don't remember? He was not a fan of Bridge or Their Home. Their Home. Don't even. We're not going to get started.
Yeah, we're not going to go back to that. Art's mad over there.
In Captain America, you had one big special effect to focus on, so it didn't take 1,000 people to make him look tiny. But Thor, it took a lot. We're not going back to hate on Thor. We're going to keep it.
Thor.
I kind of like it when Art Star gets riled up about stuff. Though. It's
No, we have spent too much time to keep going back. Moving forward.
Okay, moving forward. Then we get the Dr. Erskine exposition scene about Joanne Schmidt and
Johann. Not
Johann.
Joanne.
Oh yeah, Johann Schmidt. I spelled it right, but that made me have Joanne Schmidt. Johann Schmidt, the super serum. The good becomes great, the bad becomes worse. Like your good qualities become good. Yeah, and I made a note here that to tell you guys that this is a scene, and this is where I came to a reckoning with the nerd school. This is a scene normally I would tune out. I would not pay any attention to what they were saying. My mind would wander because there's no action. I'd think about other things, and then I would be back into this movie when the next action scene happens. That's how I watched Marvel movies before you guys. So this time...
But now you grew a little bit because you caught some very important dialogue.
Well, yeah, and because I'm taking notes for a podcast, I'm I'm listening and I'm paying attention to what's he saying. Oh wait, what did he say? And so now I realize this is a better way to watch movies, paying attention.
If we can teach you one thing in this entire endeavor, it would be paying attention is helpful.
Well, there are.
Lessons.
There's a lot of movies. Let's be fair. There's a lot of action movies in the past before Marvel existed, where you could just kind of just zone out and just watch people fight. Like Die Hard, you don't have to watch a lot of. You mean when they had
Jean-Claude Van Damme who couldn't speak anything, but you just watched him fight, or when him and Dennis Rodman
Steven
did a
Seagal or whatever. You don't really have to.
Die Hard is much better if you pay attention. There's a lot of dumb Schwarzenegger action movies that you can just go, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Die Hard was not the best example because there's a lot going on in Die Hard too.
Is there though?
Yeah.
Is there?
There is.
I don't know.
There's a lot of attention to detail.
It's a classic.
But listen to this. This was all this really explained. Especially this whole monologue thing is basically explaining Red Skull, or what's his name? Red Skull? Red Skull, yeah.
Red Skull.
Red Skull and Captain America, and how it's the same, almost the same serum, but it makes him evil because he's already an asshole. And we've already gone through this whole thing about, this is why I made sure Steve, I watched you. I watched you be a hero because this should theoretically make a good person like you that's a hero that wants this. You will sacrifice yourself. This will turn you into a super soldier. And like that whole thing. I know because I know this is like the fourth time I watched this movie. And I didn't remember that at all. And I was like, now that I'm listening, it's like, oh, cool, I get it. And now I get this. Now I get Red Skull. Because before, by the time Red Skull shows up, I'm like, what's this Joker? I mean, I know he's the character that we used to see as kids, but I'm like,
right.
Like, yeah, right. Like anybody would look like, they're like, how do you explain that goddamn skull thing, But now I get it, you know what I mean? Like, because I paid attention. So, all that to say, thank you guys.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
You're welcome, Joe. You're welcome, Joe.
Yeah, I mean,
chocolate on
taught you the
teacher's
value of paying attention to things.
Right? A life lesson. This is not just a nerd school lesson. It's a life lesson.
That's a life lesson. Now, I'm not convinced that you have to be as nerdy about everything as you guys are. Maybe you'll convince me of that later. But this part is helpful. Like, this helps me get through the movie and enjoy it more. And now I get more out of it. So
now, if you can just pay attention to your children.
Oh, I have kids.
Imagine.
Shoot, I'm supposed to help them with their homework. Oops.
And this explains their grades.
Yeah, no, it's a pandemic.
That's their excuse.
And they've listened to me too much because now my daughter's excuse is, I have ADD. It's a pandemic. What am I supposed to do? And I'm like, wait a minute, you can't say what you're listening too much to. Like, the pandemic is not why you're not doing. Yeah, it's bad. Okay, back to then we're back to Schmidt being painted. That little like hint. I love that they do these little hint things of who this bad guy's going to be. Like, that's our little foreshadowing with the red, the little red paint that falls down, and they're painting him. And,
Right.
And we find out that he has found Erskine. I don't know what that means. Zola asks, shall I give the order?
This Red Skull has been trying to find Erskine. Erskine has escaped Germany and went to America, and Red Skull obviously wants the perfected version of the super soldier serum because it's defected him. It's turned him into what's being painted.
And they figure out where he is.
And he doesn't want anyone else to have what he has. He doesn't want anyone else to be him because he thinks he's walking in the footsteps of the gods.
Yes, like he's a god. Yeah, right. So Zola asks, shall I give the order? It has been given. And then he looks at the picture and says, a masterpiece. And for a second, I just want to take a detour into this artist who's painting this, that poor guy. Like, imagine this artist going home and telling his family, well, I painted some Red Skull lunatic today. How are you? How was your day? Like, he's like sitting down with his family. Hey, what did you do today? I painted some fucking lunatic that looks like a skull man. Like, like that guy went home to a family, probably.
Probably not. He probably got
I'm
shot.
about to say, or knowing that bad guy. Did he go home?
Oh, maybe yeah. He didn't. Yeah.
He shoots a lot of people that disappoint him, or even if they don't disappoint him, if
just
they have information.
Yep.
So do you think
he was not a good person?
Do you think somewhere in the like Hollywood world, like whatever that actor was actually painting on, like do you think they took that and was like, hey, this is a prop, but anybody want this prop to take home? Like somebody's got that prop, whatever he was practicing on, hanging up in there.
I feel like that actual painting of the Red Skull should show up somehow, somewhere else. Like, who has that painting?
Will.
Somebody's
got it.
Destroyed.
It's either still sitting in a prop house. It's either still sitting in a prop house or someone took it home.
At this point, though, like, I mean, we're thinking of it because we're delving into the movie. Like, if you see a painting,
keep their props for a while.
So if you see a painting of Red Skull that shows up in Falcon and Winter Soldier in 2 weeks, are you going to recognize it? Oh, that's the painting.
Now I will.
Well, yeah, because we talked about it. Yeah.
Now that we put it
but we never even see the finished product in this movie.
Yeah, right. You don't even see it.
But prop masters keep props not just related to movies, and it's very rare for actors to keep get to keep props or costumes off movie sets. Some of them slyly remove them from movie sets, but they are accounted for and cataloged for a lot. Like we are just like they're just auctioning off a bunch of Disney stuff from way back when. Like you're just getting Mary Poppins stuff on the market because they hold on.
Yeah.
To things because you just never know because you can repurpose things.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Remember, they also repurpose. Not everything doesn't stay the same, but some things are held just in case. So maybe someone took it home, or maybe it's in the dusty corner of a prop warehouse.
That could be.
Shoot. I was going to say something about that, but I forget. Anyway, it must not be that important. So we get a little romantic foreshadowing with Carter with the right partner line.
A little chemistry. A little
that?
chemistry.
If I had the right partner.
They're riding in the car on the way to the super soldier experiment.
Yeah.
She's like, you have no idea how to speak to a woman, do you?
Yeah, right. And I think that's kind of I don't know. The naysayer in me is like, this is the gist of their like this is all of their relationship, really. Because we don't, I know there's more, but that's the most we see of it, like them getting to know each other, I guess.
Far.
I guess there's.
Well, we did have a whole training montage. You don't know how long that took.
That's true.
And we've seen her be impressed with him and his. And she works with Erskine, who I'm sure is
has talked him up.
Yeah.
So, but interpersonally, this is the most we've seen so far of them having actual conversation.
In the show, Agent Carter, you guys all watched the show, Agent Carter show?
I didn't watch the show.
Yeah. You didn't watch that show, TBJ?
No, I don't remember what it came out on. What channel was that? What network?
It was on ABC. It was around Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. It was a few seasons into Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
So you just don't support women? Is that why you didn't watch it?
No, I don't actually. To be honest, on weekdays, I actually don't turn on my TV very often. So I miss a lot of shows because I don't actually consume a lot of TV. And when I turn on screen time, I'm very specific about what I'm watching on screen time. So I limit my screen time.
So you won't watch Women Empowered, is what you're saying? Like if women have...
No, I am here for all the women empowered. But TBJ has very strict screen time rules around herself.
Oh, yeah.
Confuses a lot of people.
Oh, it's a lot of stuff. So those of you that have seen Agent Carter, it was on, what was it on, Fox or
NBC?
ABC.
Because
and is it
Marvel is owned by Disney, ABC is owned by Disney.
So is it on? Is it now on Disney Plus?
Yeah, I think it's available.
And was there just what, like a couple seasons?
There's 2 seasons.
And did it take place before or after? After this.
After.
So Steve's already gone as far as she knows.
There was one of those Marvel one shots. There was a short film, short Agent Carter film that sort of picks up from where this movie ends, and that has her post after the war. She's in. I can't remember what the name of the one shot is, but it might just be called Agent Carter, and she was in this sort of field just suffering toxic misogyny, as is the case in the 40s,
1940s,
and no one's giving her the chance. And then finally, she takes it, she solves a case and kicks some ass on her own volition, and then is about to get punished for it by I want to say it's Bradley Whitford. The actor is the crappy boss in this.
He's a good friend of our aunt and uncle. You know that?
Is he?
Yeah. Brad, they're like they go out and hang out with him.
Cool.
I was say, is he a good friend or is he like Don Cheadle?
No, this is a real friend. I think he's a real friend. My aunt and uncle, our uncle by marriage, our grandmother's sister married Huntz Hall's son. Huntz Hall
being a comedy actor from the 30s.
Yeah, one of the Bowery Boys back in the day. But anyway, they lived out in L.A. and they knew some. My aunt was a librarian at an elementary school for Danny DeVito's kids, and I think that's how they knew Bradley Whitford too. Somehow, I don't know. Anyway, so back to Agent Carter. Sorry, name dropping.
So at the end of this short, I believe. Young Howard Stark calls her and says, "Hey, how about you join me? We're creating a new agency, which is going to be Shield.
Right.
So
it's the start of Shield.
Yeah, and which also involves one of the characters we'll meet a little bit later in this movie, Dum Dum Dugan, who the dude with the derby hat and the mustache that he rescues.
That guy's a guy. He's a thing in the.
Yeah.
I got questions.
A lot of
about
those
him
guys
later,
are guys.
Oh, great! Because I have questions about all those guys. Like, I know they're guys in the and like they're fun in this. Like they're, yeah. So,
no, he has a posse. He has a posse.
So yeah. Anyway, Agent Carter is after that, like the early days of Shield, I believe.
Yeah.
Howard Stark shows up in there, and we meet the real Edwin Jarvis that Iron Man's.
Really? In Agent Carter?
Yeah, is basically Howard Stark's butler from back in the day, so someone Tony Stark would have known growing up.
All right,
and Agent Carter, he pretty much becomes like, I don't want to say her right hand, but like he drives her around all the time. Or like, let's say if there's something going on, he's all like Howard has him pretty much at her beck and call. So if she needs something,
he's basically a partner of hers.
Is it action packed?
Yeah.
It's pretty much
art star.
I want you guys to know, since Joe was hating on me, I went on my Disney Plus and I added Agent Carter to my watch list.
Yes.
Now it's going to take me a while because I only screen time on the weekends, but except during the holiday season, I screen time every day for Christmas movies.
This needs to go above Christmas movies, TBJ.
Here's the thing. I'm going to explain this because people think my love of Christmas movies is weird. The world is crazy, right? The world is trash.
Yeah.
And the best way to keep Tiffany a pleasant Tiffany and out of jail is holiday magic. So you can thank holiday magic.
Sit her in front of a television with some holiday magic.
Sane and kind-hearted. Because without holiday magic, I'd be very militant. I mean, I have a militant edge sometimes, but it's toned down thanks to holiday magic and my. It keeps me out of jail. Because I'm not saying I'm never going to jail. I got a jail plan. I know how to make it. I'll survive just fine. But
and the answer to surviving is toilet soup.
It's not even toilet soup. The answer to surviving for me is Big Bertha. I got plans. It's working. But that's only if someone takes away holiday movies. Like I save, like I hoard holiday movies that came out on different channels so that I can save them through the years. So if it gets really bad, I just go to Netflix and just press play, and then I'm like, less murderous thoughts. Less murderous thoughts.
I think it's
a weird fact about me.
Yeah.
A weird fact about me is I'm not really big on Christmas and holiday stuff, but I love Christmas music, and I don't have a problem with, like, let's say when we get finished recording this, listening to some Christmas music. Like sometimes
in March,
off season.
In March, I'll be sitting at work and I'm like, it's the most wonderful time of the... Like, it's just because. Like, I love Christmas music, but I'm not big on Christmas anymore.
I love that.
Holiday magic. Christmas is my jam. Like, if I could live in a Christmas town year round, like
Frankenmuth,
I legit book me a role as Mrs. Claus, and I will be in Fred Claus. Book me as Mrs. Claus, and you will. I'm done. Like I never have to act again if you just make me Mrs. Claus one time. Even if let me hit the lottery. Tiffany's gonna take a plot of land, right? And she's gonna put tiny houses on the land. It's gonna be a Christmas village. You can come and visit and hang out, and different artisans can have shots.
Is Buddy the Elf going to be there?
I'm Buddy the Elf's cousin. That's what I tell people. Buddy the Elf had a cousin. It's me. We are related on a grand level.
Oh, gosh.
And if you think it's weird, you should probably be thankful for this obsession because
that's why I'm not killing you.
That is why I have never been put in jail or fired, because I also am mouthy and I have a tendency to probably walk the line more than once. Christmas movies and holiday magic keep me employed.
Well, that's very entertaining for me.
But now I will put Agent Carter on my watch list, so I will pause on the next couple of Christmas movies on my weekends.
But you also, I will point out, and I just know this because I was editing, you also are the only one of all of us that saw that movie with Ashton Kutcher and Natalie Portman, Friends with Benefits.
I've seen it. I just don't remember it.
Oh, you did
I
see
love
it.
rom-coms.
You like
I
rom-coms
just don't
too?
remember it.
Art star.
I like
Hey,
rom-coms.
I ain't got a problem
think-
with it. I'm okay with saying I like rom-coms.
That's okay.
I
You
think
you're
that was
secure.
called-
Also, they do the same thing. It's like
Yeah.
I don't do drugs because I'm not a good person on drugs. It's not even because I'm a goody two shoe. Like Tiffany on drugs would also end up in jail, so we just don't do that. She doesn't. I don't drink a lot because I don't make the best choices when I do. So I just learned to not.
Yes.
So rom-coms do the same thing for my
Those are
brain.
your
It's like a
drug.
dose. It's like gives me what I need. And then no one
Okay.
is hurt.
So
It's a
there,
dopamine shot.
yeah, dope. Yeah, that's what it is. So the original question I'm asking about Agent Carter was, Art Star, with your rating system that you have, your elaborate rating system with everybody
Here we
else's.
go.
If you
we
had to
go.
rate Agent Carter compared to what you've rated past things, like as a series, out of
Four.
that's a 4 stars.
It's
That's
a four.
it's
Four,
that good.
4.25 maybe.
4 3/4 star.
I liked Agent. I was disappointed when it canceled it.
Yeah, it was a lot of. I mean, I'm
It's
a
like
big
they-
fan of Haley Atwell.
Yeah,
She carried it, and like
She's
makes a
fabulous.
big impact in this film.
But
Yeah.
then we
And-
also got Daniel Sousa from this show, who ended up being on like the last 2 seasons or the last season of
Agents of Shield.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
it was-
which is interesting. It was kind of a nice way to call back to him.
Yeah,
and also,
yeah.
I guess
Wait a minute, though. Wait, if he was in that in the 40s, is he an old man in Agents of Shield?
no, Agents of Shield went back in time.
Quantumania stuff. Easter chicken.
There was time traveling and stuff.
Time
It's
travel?
definitely an Easter chicken.
Oh
Yeah,
man.
Time
Agents of
travel
Shield
is
got
wrong.
kind of crazy ass in its last couple seasons, like
Okay.
Tried to
including
get
going to a
back to the
future
MCU.
where
Okay.
the Earth was destroyed. and
I
all that
didn't.
stuff.
I stopped watching it. Kind of seemed to jump the shark a little, so I stopped watching it. But Agents of Shield is how many
It's-
seasons? I mean, not Agents of Shield. Agent
So
Carter.
I think
Agent Carter.
Agent Carter's only 2.
It's just 2.
And unfortunately, got kind of canceled on a sort of a cliffhanger-y moment.
Because it
sort of.
seemed like
Something
I was just gonna say when
something you shouldn't add.
yeah.
Just as a side note, something that you probably shouldn't add from the Marvel that was an ABC show is Inhumans. But
Yeah,
continue on.
don't watch that.
Don't watch it.
I didn't watch it.
Don't
No.
watch it. Only Inhuman stuff you might get from Agents of Shield. Like if you don't watch.
And why?
It has Anson Mount in it. I like Anson Mount. I was so disappointed in Inhumans.
It was
Go ahead,
just
Jeff. What you gonna say?
was it just poorly done?
Yeah.
I was gonna say correct me if I'm wrong, but my perception of at the time when Agent Carter, I keep saying Agents of Shield, when Agent Carter came out, I feel like people were raving about it. Like this is like a Marvel movie, but for TV, and it's actually good. And Agents of Shield sucks
Yeah,
compared to this.
This was kind of fan demanded. So many people liked Peggy Carter in this movie
Yeah,
that they wanted more of that. And so, like, the more that kind of built up into, the one shot thing, and then people liked that enough that it kind of expanded into the show.
yeah.
And the big question is, at the end of, does this show get erased because of what happened at the end of Endgame? When did you watch Endgame?
I did watch it, but
He's not gonna remember
but
it.
again, like I said, like just keep in mind, I watched all the movies as I just explained to you
He's
how I watch
present.
movies. Like
Present for the movie.
yeah, I watched them like I watched this one, just for the I don't know what's really happening. I'm just watching for the cool shit.
He's
But-
just waiting for fighting scenes. So
But now, like with you guys, I'm watching them for real, so I don't know these things
So
yet.
we're forcing you to watch them for real, basically.
Well, yeah, and maybe, and this will be the big test. Like maybe I'll now retain what I'm watching because I'm paying attention. I admit,
There have been certain things you said, sometimes just based on stuff that we've already talked about, or you remember someone from, yeah, that's from such and such, so you're retaining it. So
now
you just probably don't realize that you're retaining it.
Well, and there's little bit,
even if it's things you don't all the way retain, the fact that you paused and listening to the conversation that actually happened between the Doctor and Captain America means that is enough in itself. Like, you paused and paid attention to a part of the storyline that's important that you would not have done before. So I'll even give you props.
Boom.
Going forward, I think you'll pause and pay attention, even if you don't retain, because life is hectic. You'll at least pay attention more and more.
Well, and there's something to that, like TBJ says. Like, sometimes you're watching shit. I'm not saying the Christmas movies are shit, but they're probably shit.
You better not.
But you're watching those. You're not watching those because they're gonna win an Academy Award and it's great acting.
No,
you're watching that to just get away from everything. It's like that's why I watch That's why I started binging Cheers. Like, it's like nostalgia. Cliff and Norm are comforting because I grew up with them. And then it's like rewatching and now I get the jokes I didn't get when I was a kid. So there's like this otherworldly stuff, and I'll watch stuff just to brain out. Like, I don't pay attention
Sometimes
to
you
it.
need white noise. Yeah,
but I just brain
white
that.
Noise.
Huh?
That's
You need that.
HGTV for me.
I said you need that.
Yeah, you need that. So I guess that's my question. So if I watch Agent Carter, should I watch it now or between?
Do you have time to watch 2 seasons of a television show?
No,
Right?
I don't know anymore. I did for a while during this pandemic.
Not.
I would just watch it when, let's say you get that urge to want to binge something.
I think.
I mean, it's not like if you watch it now, I don't necessarily know if it'll affect anything with what's going on with you following along in the MCU now.
Well, because you guys said it takes place after Captain America.
Yeah, it takes place in the late 40s, early.
So
50s.
now that I've watched it, it's okay to probably watch it now.
Yeah. This would be
it's okay to watch it, but it's not one of those things where it's like if you don't watch it now, it's going to ruin Avengers for you or something like that.
Okay, yeah, right.
It's not a have to.
So I don't need to. Yeah, you don't have to. But there are parts of this movie, Captain America.
It's almost like reading a comic. Like, I'm gonna always keep harking back on it, but it's almost like reading the main storyline in the comic book, and it's like, okay, you got these one shots and it's limited series. I could read it, but I don't necessarily have to read it right now.
Right.
I can just go back and catch up on it.
Okay.
Now you can just go back and catch up on.
I guess my desire for watching is when this whole scene we're about to get to, when he turns into Captain America and she's out there shooting the shit out of that guy, and she's standing in front of the car and he knocks her out of the way. He's like, what the fuck? I almost had him. She's such a badass that it gives me chills. It's like,
and you probably want to, because Agent Carter, it deals with that a lot, with her just being a woman, but then also going to the station in New York and almost she did all these big things. She's the great Peggy Carter, and when she goes to the station in New York, they basically try to make her a secretary.
Okay,
and she ends up going on a case or whatever, which I think also kind of ties back in to the one shot, and oh shit, she's pretty good. We have to, take her serious now. She's not just some pretty dame. She's an actual badass chick.
There's something to be said about that thing, and I think I now understand what Tiffany was talking about with the Thor movie. Is there's a thing about looking at these guys, with Chris Hemsworth or whatever, who plays Thor, and she's like, there's this whole thing about this sexy body who's also a badass. There's this thing, and whatever, and then it was at that moment of this movie when Peggy Carter is there's something so cool about her being so hot and then also being such a badass that there's that moment of oh my god, I love this. Like, I want more of this.
Yeah.
You know, like, and for nerd, it's like the ultimate nerd. Like, super hot chick's a badass. Like Wonder Woman, like all of these, like it makes sense. And she's so. And I like the fact that she's fully clothed and she doesn't have to be naked, like we've talked about in that show, The Boys or whatever. There's that whole storyline about, you know, that they're trying to make the one dress like Wonder Woman or whatever. But and then I like that. Like, she doesn't even have to be new. She's just so beautiful and badass at the same time that you just want more of her.
Like a little bit like the most they do for it is like for like 10 minutes she's wearing a red dress. And red
right.
shoes.
And everybody goes nuts. Everybody goes nuts. Oh my god. And I was too. I will say they did such a good job that I was like, holy shit. She's just wearing a red dress, but the way they did it, I mean, they almost made it like she was the only color in the scene. You know what I mean? Like
that was purposely done, probably. Yeah,
I'm sure it was.
Yeah, I'm gonna say that's no accident.
Because I remember that red dress, and I forever. Like, I remember that scene more than anything. And they, but you know, and they captured the 40s. I'm sure that's what the 40s were like for dudes.
Yep.
Yeah, but that's one of the reasons I like this movie a lot is the love interest isn't like you know, like the motor mouth stuff between Tony Stark and Pepper Potts and that kind of stuff. Like I like that. It's fun to have all that dialogue, but I like how understated it is here.
Yeah,
it's like it's there.
Yeah,
we acknowledge it. But you know, on one hand, Steve Rogers has no idea how to
very
do more than acknowledge it.
Yeah, and she's not a damsel in distress. I like that.
Yeah, you get the sense that she would be fine without him.
Yeah,
and she sure would.
It's and she is. In Agent Carter, you see she gets past this, which makes me which makes the thing where Captain America, Steve Rogers, goes back in time at the end of Endgame to be with her. Does that erase Agent Carter or?
Oh, so that's what I was going to ask. So in that movie, in that show, Arthur just left. He's pissed. He got pissed.
We dropped.
In that show, does she have a romantic interest?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So that's where you're getting it, yeah.
At the end of the last season, she finally, I guess, connects with that guy. Like
that's why I don't think I like that show, because I don't want her to date anybody else.
No, she should.
That's not nice. It's not fair to her to be on hold because he's gone.
Dead.
They address it. Like there's moments like it takes her a while to get over Steve.
Yeah.
Like in the first season, like then there's a moment where she finally has the final farewell.
Well, don't spoil the whole thing. So TBJ, do I take that as then you were cool with that Tom Hanks movie where he has sex with a volleyball? When he gets back to life, you're fine with his wife moving on.
He does not have sex with a volleyball.
So you're okay with his wife moving on then?
Yes, he was gone. What was she supposed to do? You can't. Her life can't be on hold.
Yes, you put your life on hold and you wait for him to be done banging that volleyball. Is what you do.
She thought he was dead. Was she supposed to just be in her mourning gear forever? I think there's reasonable mourning. But there is also a reasonable expectation for people to be able to move on. Because let's be real, if it was reversed, and we done seen it, if the wife dies, it's like, oh no, he needs a new wife ASAP, or what will he do? So, how will he function without a new wife? And no one bats an eye at the widow needing all the ladies at church are showing up with desserts for him because everyone needs to get him a new wife. So I just want to point out that Agent Carter had the right to move on, and she took her time.
What I'm saying is when Tom Hanks shows back up after he's done banging the volleyball, you drop that new man. You drop that new man, and you go back with Tom Hanks.
She has kids with that guy.
Well, did you not see Bosom Buddies? He's from Bosom Buddies.
We know where Tom Hanks is from. But you have to move on, and you don't just not move on because your presumed dead husband shows up.
Yeah, I mean, and it was a struggle. That's why that movie was so good. Is because her mind is blown. She doesn't know what to do. She wants to go with him, but knows she shouldn't. It's such a weird feeling to have. Who gets their dead husband back from the dead 5 years later?
I'll
Right.
tell you. I'll tell you who does.
Ripped and better.
I'll tell you who does.
What?
I'll tell you who does. Deidre Hall from Days of Our Lives.
Soap operas notwithstanding.
Right.
Drake
There's a lot
Hogestein.
that
You
soap
asked
operas
Drake
that make
Hogestein that
No
question.
sense. None.
Okay.
That's a name drop.
We got a few more minutes, and let's see how much we can get. Well, you guys want to go till 10:30?
Yes, please.
Okay.
I haven't eaten yet.
8 more minutes.
I would like to eat. Thanks.
Yeah, you're probably starving, TBJ.
Yeah, because I got off that meeting at 8:26 and came up here and joined you guys.
You poor thing. All right, so we jumped to the secret hidden base lab with the old lady and the wonderful weather we're having. Yes, but I always carry an umbrella. Was the password?
That's
storefront,
from
the
the
storefront.
comics.
It is.
Yeah, that's in the Captain America origin story. Yeah,
And there's like an old lady that's
yeah,
running things that
It's in
tries to
disguise,
shoot her.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought that.
Although the old lady turns out to be a young lady in disguise who's a soldier type, but this is right out of the books.
So that's old lady.
Even that antique shop, the shop they're going into, that's a front for the lab. That's right from the books.
So this is sort of like, because they didn't do a young lady in disguise, this is old woman empowerment. Old woman empowerment, right? Like
Sure.
Senior,
Older woman.
older lady. Oh, she's old.
Older.
That lady's old.
We're just going to be age gentle and say older or seasoned. A seasoned woman.
She's an experienced woman. Yeah. She knows her way around the bedroom, is what Tiffany's saying.
She's seen some shit.
And guns. And guns.
Okay. And then we get the super serum, the whole super serum bit. And I think we touched on this, like, even before we even got into it, just that whole bit about Peggy, like, seeing his body and being like, oh, gosh. And didn't you say somebody
she actually touched it?
Somebody said it was like improvised.
That was actually Haley Atwell's reaction to seeing Chris Evans' body like that. Like, she's explained before, so like, I kind of just zoned out and I couldn't believe what I was looking at. I'd never seen like that before, so she had to reach out and touch him.
Uh-huh.
And that's the take they used, because that was the honest reaction to Jesus.
Yeah, she's so good.
And that little guy.
And
I would also have a good reaction.
So, Tiffany, it's become mandatory that we ask you this. Chris Hemsworth or Chris Evans at this point?
Still going Hemsworth.
Okay, Hemsworth over Evans. Okay, that's interesting. Like, just to get the ladies, that's I think that's probably common.
There's a little Hemsworth is a little more ruggedy, right? He's a little more ruggedy. Evans is a little more clean cut.
Okay.
I like rough edges a little bit, so I'm still gonna go Hemsworth on this.
She likes the Steve Bishop type, who ain't only Andy knows.
But Chris Evans in Infinity War, when he's got the beard and he's been on the run for a while.
Listen, that beard does a lot. That beard does a lot for me.
Yeah. There was a lot of people when he shaved it off in Endgame going, no.
Yeah,
I don't remember him having a beard.
Different. Well, when you go back, you'll pay attention.
Yeah, well, I'll pay attention this time. Yeah. Okay, so I had a question about, so in this whole super serum bit, is Howard Stark involved in this whole thing in comics or just in this movie?
No, because I don't think so, because they might have changed things, because sometimes they change their history to reflect movies or whatever's more popular. But, Iron Man Tony Stark wasn't invented until the 60s, and this is the 40s when Captain America was.
Oh, right. So it wouldn't be. Yeah, it couldn't be. Yeah.
But they did also kind of rewrite Captain America's origin story in a little more detail in the 60s when Captain America came back out of the ice. They sort of said, all right, let's take what's in the original comic and kind of expound on it and change some things. So but I don't think so. I don't think Howard Stark was that big a deal until later. Until the movies really started putting more focus on it.
Art, were you going to say something?
No.
Oh, I thought you said. I was going to ask, so this is probably an impossible question to answer, but is there a ballpark? Like, do you have a ballpark a number of times in the comics, like forever. This is going to be really hard to answer, probably. Like, how many times have they like retold the origin story of these main guys, like Captain America, Iron Man? Like, is it like 100 times or like four main times, or?
It depends on if you're counting just this, the Marvel 616, the main universe, or the alternate, all the other times in alternate realities. They've sort of revamped origins to put them in different directions. DC tends to do it a little more often because they tend to like to reboot their universe a little bit more. Mm-hmm. Whereas, although I think Marvel's starting to do that now, I haven't
now.
But yeah, like. Yeah. But there are times when they'll, because sometimes they have to make certain characters they need to update because of just time, like
yeah, because they want to tell the origin story from the '80s,
like,
and then the '60s,
yeah.
and the '70s are all different. So
yeah,
like
that too, but then also some things where like, you know, at the time that these books were written, you know, like I think I was reading something somewhere where somebody did something when it came to like Asian characters, how the way they were addressed back then were different, so they had to rewrite the character or like take something out so it doesn't offend.
So it's not racist.
Sometimes it's,
yeah.
you know,
So like
there was a villain called the Yellow Claw, which was created in the 50s, and that's full on Asian xenophobic
Asian stereotype.
You can't trust those Chinese people.
Yeah.
So they updated him more recently to be the Golden Claw, which is less about the yellow skin of the Orient or whatever the stupid stereotype was. And to make it more of like all right, this is a character we can actually use. We can use the origins without using the racist crap about him, and just like let's shave that off. And
so if you,
sorry, I think I'm making some noise.
If you go to a comic shop, like if I go to Heroes, what's it called? Heroes aren't hard to find.
You never.
I always get that right. I feel bad because I've talked to the people that own it and I can't name it right.
Just say
Heroes. If I go to Heroes tomorrow and I go in there, they don't like. Do they have like if I said if I walked in there and I was like, I want every time Captain America's origin story was told in a book, give me those now. Like, would they just have? Okay, well, I have the one from 1945. That's $700, and I have the one from the 1958, and then
they'll
60
probably have
and
like
82
reprints of the old ones. But I mean, it depends on how in depth you're talking about. Like sometimes they'll retell an origin story just in like 3 panels to sort of just as exposition to. What's the story about Captain America? He's in somebody else's book. Like if he's in the Avengers or something. If they're in a group with other heroes, they'll say maybe the people reading the Avengers don't necessarily read Captain America.
I guess every time they started a new Captain America, like
they just said, all right,
starting over. Yeah, like is it like will it be 3 different? Will it be 17? Will it be 45? Like ballpark here, like just like Captain America, like.
If they decide, all right, like they come out and say, here is the new official origin updated.
Yeah, like that. Like how many? Is it just a few times in history, or is it a bunch?
Well, probably for Marvel. I mean, if they're like here, like this is the origin story. This isn't like a flashback from a different story.
It's a new line, right? Isn't that a thing? A line of comic? Like,
yeah, they don't do that all that often with Marvel. I think. I mean, they've.
I know you keep saying that, but give me a number. Like I can't fathom it. Like
there's no number, Joe. That's the thing. You said it in your question. There's no number.
But if you say they don't do it often, they've probably only done it 7 times, or is it like they've only done it 45 times? Like I don't know what's not
like
much.
Under 10. I would say is if
under 10. Okay.
Yeah, 45 would be a lot.
45 would be a ton, right?
If we're not counting alternate realities and we're not counting anything like that, it's just like, all right, here's because usually, like Marvel especially, likes to say everything counts, everything happened.
Yeah.
So we just sort of, when we reference the story, we'll clean out some of the dated details. We'll add new stuff. Like stuff like the Punisher. He was written as a Vietnam guy, and now if he was in Vietnam, he'd be 70 or something. So they've sort of slid it to his big war origin was in like Afghanistan, which they can do now. Which makes more sense.
Yeah. Okay. So just a few times. Okay. Like, sorry. I know that was a hard question to throw at you, but I was just kind of like, just to get a feel for like what.
I like how you say it was hard, but then you yelled at him to give you a number.
Well, just get to the fucking answer. All right. So
empathy level was low.
Yeah. Well, I just wanted a goddamn answer. Okay. So we're gonna end here. I got one more question, then we'll end. But just so we are at a point, so we remember. We're at the super serum bit, and I just want to say, like, when they do that, we talked about Agent Carter, like, being all excited about him being all muscly. I made a note that they made a great job making that technology that they were using, all the machines and bells and whistles. Like, they did a great job making that look old timey. Like, that looked like 40s shitty technology. I often say on American Timelines, the other podcast I do, I often say, like, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. Like, I think the moon landing happened, but I understand why people think maybe it didn't, because like we didn't even know how to do VCRs. How did we get to the goddamn moon? Like, you know what I mean? Like, we couldn't watch videotape, and like, the technology.
Have you not seen the picture? Like, one of the scientists that did all the computations to get them to the moon, like, she's standing next to a stack of her paperwork that's as tall as she is. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's how we got to the moon.
I know, yeah.
We had 3 networks, fewer distractions, no internet.
And women were doing it.
People doing math.
This paper, yeah.
As tall as they are.
Well, I just said, and I made this note, that he gets big and muscly, and Agent Carter likes. I wrote Mama Likey, and that's when she kind of touches him. And then before we get to the next bit with the explosion and everything, we'll just end here, and we'll tackle that in the next episode because it's late. TBJ's got to eat, and it's going to end up sounding like TBJ is just hungry all the time because we always say Tiffany's got to eat, so we got to go. But it's like, we've been doing this for hours after we all got done for the evening, and she just got home. Yeah, so she's never eaten dinner.
People are like, does TBJ eat? I'm going to remind them that my cohorts go on tangents on tangents on tangents. And so our recordings are also not short.
She is hangry.
So by the time I want to eat, it is also hella late.
Yeah, so keep in mind, folks.
We go on tangents so far that the tangents become their own episodes.
That's right. Yes. And you guys,
if there's anything we do well, it's a tangent.
And you guys may have only been listening to this episode for 45 minutes, maybe 40 or an hour, but we've been recording for 2. So just let people know. So Tiffany's not a crazy eater. She doesn't eat all the time. In fact, she doesn't eat enough, probably. We're starving this poor woman for her art.
Yes.
Yeah.
And speaking of Art Star, take us out.
Take us out. You put me on the spot. You put me on the spot. And this has been another episode of Nerd Skool Podcast.
Yes, I knew it'd be perfect.
Nerd Skool.
Excelsior. Oh, my glasses are broken.
My pocket is protected.
Okay.
About the president no more, but evidently they don't see we in the streets still poor. Still more incarceration of my kinsmen by the prisons, and people thinking this election to end racism. Proud over pessimism, glad to see Obama, but don't expect me not to speak out when I still see problems.
The Nerd Skool Podcast.
Nerd Skool is a member of the Queen City Podcast Network, powered by Ortho Carolina. Now offering video visits so you can take control of your orthopedic care from the comfort of your home. Schedule online at orthocarolina.com. Ortho Carolina, you improved.
I did not come all this way for safety, doctor.